Alright, happy campers from room 1. We are going to start our first note-taking session. Hopefully it won't be that long and we'll get through it. We always are going to start with the date on the top of our paper and the title of what it is we're taking notes on. Today it's going to be integers and the number line. I'm going to run out of space. So I'll put it here. I should have moved my date over. That was poor planning. Anyway, I am going to use 2 different color highlighters. You can if you want. You don't have to. This unit, this chapter 1, is all about comparing sizes of negative numbers, using negative numbers in real-world problems, putting numbers on a number line, and understanding that every positive number has a negative opposite. So we always start out with a few vocab words. You might already know the words, but that's okay. We're going to put them in our notebook anyway. We are going to start with the definition of integer. An integer is a positive or negative whole number including 0. Our friend 0 sometimes is excluded from certain categories, so it's good to know that an integer does include 0. Opposite integer is exactly what it sounds like. It is the opposite of the opposite of a positive is a negative, and the opposite of a negative is a positive. And I'm going to show you an example in just a minute. So let's get this down first. Opposite of a positive is negative. Opposite of negative is positive. And we know that because of the distance it is from 0. 0 is our middle. So we're going to draw an example. And this is where I use my highlighters. But again, you don't have to. 3 is the opposite of negative 3. Zero is its own opposite. So this is where 0 has a special rule. There's nothing that's opposite of 0. It's its own. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use you can use a ruler if you want. If you don't have a ruler, you can use a straight edge of something, or do your best to make it look nice and neat. I'm just going to draw, oh, my pen is bad. I'm just going to draw a line. And in the middle of my line, I'm going to put 0. And then I'm going to label 1, 2, 3, 4. And then my arrows to indicate that my line goes on forever. -1, -2, -3, -4, and an arrow to indicate my line goes on forever. So we know that if we start here with 3 and we compare it to where it is at 0, it's 1, 2, 3 spaces away from 0. And we know that the opposite of positive 3 is negative 3 because it is also 3 spots away from 0. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We prove it by showing it on a number line. They are the same distance from 0. 3 and negative 3 are opposites because they are both the same distance from 0. So that's where we're going to start. Integers and opposite integers. And the numbers that we talk about here on our number line are positive and negative numbers. So we're going to talk a little bit about the characteristics of positive numbers and the characteristics of negative numbers. Positive numbers are located on a number line to the right of 0. Or, above 0 if I have a horizontal number line, which I'll show, a vertical number line, which I'll show you in a minute. So they're located to the right of 0 or above 0. So this right here is a horizontal number line. It's like the horizon. It goes from left to right. And if we have 0 here, all of our positive numbers go to the right. That means that they have a greater value as they increase. So 1 is greater than 0, 2 is greater than 1 and greater than 0, 3 is greater than 2, which is greater than 1, which is greater than 0, which is greater than negative 1, which is greater than negative 2, which is greater than negative 3. You can show a positive number with or without a plus sign. And this is going to only really become important when we start adding and subtracting integers, positive and negative numbers. We will need to use a positive sign in some cases, and other cases it attaches itself to a number, which is not something we're going to be doing until like February or March. Negative numbers are located on a number line to the left of 0 or below 0. And again, on a horizontal number line, you can see going left, I have a -1, a -2, a -3, a -4. They have a lesser value as you move left. So when we talked about positive numbers, the 1 was greater than the 0, the 2 was greater than the 1, the 3 was greater than the 2. It's the opposite when we have negative numbers. -1 is less than 0, -2 is less than 1, -3 is less than -2, and so on down the line. It's lesser value, and lesser is a word. It sounds kind of funny, but it is a word and we use it. You must show a negative number with a negative sign. It's also a minus sign, which is something, again, we'll talk about probably in February or March, how those signs eventually attach themselves to numbers. So again, negative numbers are to the left or below 0. I'll show you below in just a second. They have a lesser value the more left that you go. I'm out of room, so I'm going to turn my page. And I'm going to talk about number lines. We just drew one, but there are two types. There is a horizontal number line and a vertical number line. And the horizontal number line is like a horizon. We use increments or intervals to show. A vertical number line goes from top to bottom and also shows numbers on a number line. Eventually those two are going to cross and we're going to have a grid, but not quite yet. An increment or interval is what you're going to hear these lines called, and they're basically the spaces that show the numbers. This is the most important piece of information that I'm going to tell you about this unit. And it's the most important because someone always gets it incorrect. So, the value between increments or intervals must always be the same on one number line. And what I mean by that is it's how you're counting. The pattern has to be the same, and we've talked about patterns quite a bit. So if I am starting my horizontal number line with 4.5, I don't have to have a 0 on my number line unless that's the number that I want to show. But if I start with my 4.5 on my number line and I want to show numbers going up by halves, I can only do halves on my numbers. So this would be 4.5, this would be 5, this would be 5.5, this would be 6, this would be 6.5, this would be 7. If there's a question that says draw a number line and show 4.5 and 6, I can't just have 4.5 here and the next one be 6. You have to show the pattern of how it goes. You don't always have to write the number in, but the pattern has to be the same. For example, I could draw this number line, and let's say the numbers that I really want to show off are 4.5 and 6.5. I could write 4.5, I could put the line there for 5, but not write the letter 5, the number 5. I could also put the line for 5.5 and 6 and not show 6. I have to have the line there to show that's where the number goes, but I don't always have to write the number there. I hope that makes sense. We're going to do a lot of practice for this. On a vertical number line, the higher or larger the value of number, the closer it is to the top. So when I said positive numbers were above 0 and negative numbers were below 0, this is what I mean by above and below. We have top and we have bottom. If I were to draw a horizontal number line that did not have 0 in it, let's say that's not the number I wanted to show off, I still have to remember that larger numbers are closer to the top. So I'm going to say -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. -1 is larger than -2. -2 is larger than -3. -3 is larger than -4. So these numbers are closer to the top and these numbers are closer to the bottom. If I were to flip this into a horizontal number line, all I would do is take this little arrow and move it. Here, I'll show you. We have to make the noise. And -1 would be here, and -6 would be here. I'm flipping it so it looks like this. Watch. Now it's a horizontal number line that makes sense. If I were to take this number line and make it a horizontal, or make it from a horizontal to a vertical, it's the opposite. I flip it up that way. So that means that 7 is closer to the top and 4.5 is closer to the bottom. If I'm changing it into a vertical number line. We will be drawing both vertical and horizontal number lines. The last word that I want you to remember is inequality. We're going to do a lot more with inequalities later this year, but we will do some stuff with inequalities. It is a way to compare values, quantities. Quantities, quantities. And you've seen them. This is less than. This is greater than. This is equal to. There are a couple others, but we're not going to go over those till later. That's all you need to know for our notes tonight. We're going to do some practice with this when you come in tomorrow. I end my notes with a problem for you to do. So, based on this lesson and what you've learned, you are going to do the problem that I'm leaving for you. You solve it or draw it out or whatever it is I'm asking you to do, and then tomorrow when you come into class, while I'm checking homework, that's the one that you're going to be talking about with your table mates. So, what you have to do is draw a vertical number line with intervals of 2 from -6 to +6. So remember, your intervals are these things that you're counting by. Vertical number line is a number that is a line that is up and down, and your higher numbers are closer to the top. So you're going to solve that on your paper here, and then tomorrow when you come in, we're going to talk about it and check each other's work. See you tomorrow.